So the only animal on earth I know that can do that's a billy goat. And Jim, you fit that. You got your old goatee going there and stuff. And you're like the master of that yard. You better stay out of Jim's yard. He's that billy goat. Now, he wanted me to call him the goat.
I think that's it. It's going to be the goat.
We can't do that. Everybody, Jim's the billy goat from now on. So it's Big Chief or the billy goat and Big Chief running down the Bourbon Road. If you're a cartoonist and you can draw that, send that to us. We'd love it.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you so much.
Just as long as it's not a Big Chief riding a billy goat, we'll be we'll be fine.
I know a few artists. You're in trouble.
Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
We would like to thank Tommy and Gwen Mitchell from Logheads Home Center for supporting this episode of the Bourbon Road. Find out more about their fine rustic furniture at logheadshomecenter.com. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
And this is the Bourbon Road. And today, Mike, we're broadcasting from Studio 1 in Simpsonville, Kentucky, and
Studio 2 in Shelbyville, Kentucky.
I wanted to say Studio 1A, like what is like in Rockefeller Center, you know.
what was the radio station up in Cincinnati?
Oh, WKRP.
There you go.
Oh my gosh,
KRP.
95% of our listeners have no idea what you're talking about. Just the old farts, right?
Yeah. We might be the two oldest guys in spirit podcasting. I don't know. We're right up there.
I don't know. Old man Steve Akeley. He's probably up there, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You might have him beat.
Oh, Mike, what are we drinking today?
So we're gonna go ahead. We had one of our listeners, one of our moderators in our group, Adam. He sent us a bottle of the new 7-year Heaven Hill bottled and bond. So we're gonna go ahead, and everybody's done this, right? Everybody's compared the two, but we haven't. You know, we're in Kentucky, and it's hard to get your hands on that Heaven Hill 7-year. So we're gonna compare the two, not blind. But we're going to go ahead and taste them. So the first one we're going to do is that bottled and bond 6-year, the older one. We both have different bottles, though.
So you bought yours in like 2016, 2017. When was that?
Yeah, somewhere in there. And I'm trying to figure out on this bottle how you could figure that out. I don't think there's a way. Do you think?
There's probably a date code on it somewhere, but I'm not familiar enough with. I'm sitting here looking at mine, and I don't see a date code anywhere. And
you know, one of our
the bottom of my bottle stamped with a 17.
Well, bottom of my bottle stamped with a 7, a 42, a CPA, and some symbol. I don't know what that is.
Well, anyway,
one of our listeners is going to call us out, though. Watch.
Well, that's all right. So, I bought a couple of cases of this a couple of years ago. I'm a big fan of it. I love it a lot. I've probably had it on my bar for as long as I can remember. And when I heard it was going away, I didn't want to see it go away for a while for me. So I put a couple cases downstairs, and I still have probably, 15 bottles of it, because they're 12 bottle cases. So
that's a lot of bourbon.
It's a lot of bourbon, but you know what? I drink it. I don't show it off. I don't have it in a shrine. I just grab a bottle when I need a bottle, and it's good stuff.
Down there in the old Billy Goat bunker. That's what I'm going to start calling that place, the Billy Goat bunker.
So how much was in your bottle, Mike?
I'm about, I don't know, I think a little over halfway through that. And that's not a bourbon I pull out too often. It's pushed back, and it's not up on a shelf. I just pull it out whenever I want to, enjoy life a little bit.
Let's talk a little bit about the Heaven Hill mash bill. So Heaven Hill's a high corn mash bill. It's a 78% corn mash bill with 10% rye and 12% malted barley. That's their classic mash bill. They use it across the board pretty much. And
it's got that corn sweetness to it. Corn forward.
It does. It's got a corn sweetness to it, but it's a kind of a roasted corn.
Like Mexican street corn?
Well, there's a little bit of pepper to it. Yeah, you get the pepper on the nose?
Yeah, I get a little bit of that.
Yeah. So
I thought I was smelling lavender earlier, but I'm not getting lavender anymore.
It's that candle Vivian had burning in there, right?
One of those plug-in oil things, everybody has those things these days.
So I've always thought that this is a solid bourbon. We had this on a show. Let me think. We had this on with Brian Hara, author of Bourbon Justice. He's on the Bourbon Roundtable.
Yeah. I listened to him the other night. They were talking about New Riff selling off OKI and who's going to own it and what the bourbon's age is going to be. And they just had a long discussion about that, and whether it was going to be successful as New Riff was with it. And then they debated on how much it got sold for. Some people said 25,000, and I think the number went up to like 250,000.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what something like that would go for.
I have no clue.
Well, because you're not buying any physical stock, right? Or physical
buying a brand
bourbon. You're buying the brand. So what's the brand worth? If you're one of our listeners out there and you know that answer, shoot us an email and let us know. So let's get to this whiskey, man. I've been talking too much. I'm parched.
So solid nose, traditional bourbon. It's got and it's definitely you got that corn sweetness on the nose, a little bit of pepper. I get a little bit of it's got a little peanutty kind of nose to it. You get a little bit of like the dried peanut shell.
Dried peanut shell, huh?
All peanut shells are dry. Well, not boiled peanuts, but like ballpark peanut shells.
Like when you go to Five Guys and eat peanuts there.
There you go.
Don't they have peanuts there at Five Guys? Yeah. Or that Logan Steakhouse, I think they went out of business. But yeah, them dried peanuts, you shell it, and I could get that. Toasted peanuts out of it a little bit. I get the sweetness out of it, a little pepper on the back end, almost a black pepper on this one. This is what, in my mind, bourbon is and always was, something like this right here.
Yeah, it's a good solid bourbon. It is well-rounded. That's one of the things Brian said when he was on the show. He said, it's kind of whenever he drinks a bourbon, he thinks about how it might compare back to this one, because this is kind of his standard of a solid, entry-level bourbon, bottled and bond, 100 proof.
Yeah, I think it's a great representation of the state of Kentucky and what a bourbon's supposed to be, and it's delicious for sure. And that's why I've kind of savored this bottle. But I know this fella. that has the Billy Goat bunker.
A guy. I tell you what, I keep going in there and grabbing bottles. I grabbed another one tonight for doing this with you, and it'll get sipped away until it's gone, and I'll grab another one, and eventually I'll run out, and I'll just have to wipe a tear and move on.
Well, you did a giveaway. You gave one of the bottles away on a giveaway. And then Randy, for everybody who don't know who Randy, if you haven't, or you just started listening, or you're just a couple episodes in and you haven't went back and listened to the old episodes, Randy was actually Jim's co-host, and he took off to Virginia to be a mountain man with his wife and ride horses and, I don't know, look off into mountain vistas and stuff. Is that what he's doing up there?
Yeah, he said he's going to write his book and write some music and
picking his guitar. Yeah, so he brought this on this first show I was on as a guest and cheated me out of the win. I was like, God dang it, I know we could do that. I'd have brought a couple of different bottles.
That's called a ringer, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a ringer. He's like, well, it was $15 back in 1980.
Yeah, let's talk about the price. So this this bottle could be had anywhere between about $11 and $15 for the longest time, depending on where you bought it.
Yeah.
And then as the word got out that it was going to be discontinued, it started to get bought up. And I'll be honest with you, I was part of that problem. But it started to get bought up, and the price started to climb a little bit. But it never really got real expensive. I think it just went up to around $20, $25. And then when it was gone off the shelves, then you started seeing it on the secondary for $50 a bottle.
So what's it go for now if you're looking for a bottle? What do you think?
I have no clue. I haven't looked at the secondary market and prices on stuff like that for the longest time. So I don't really know what the price would be, but I would imagine it's just as rare as it was a year ago. And if people want it, or if it's still got any fanfare behind it, I would imagine it's probably going to command at least what the new one does, which is right at $40, right?
Yeah, well, it's 45 or 50 in some places, what I'm hearing and stuff. People are saying it's triple the price, which would be $45, I guess. Is it worth that? Some people say it's better than other one. We're going to find out tonight.
We are.
I would tell you the bottles set beside each other. It's hard because they're different bottles altogether, right? The labeling's different. But I think that 7 years just got a tint. It's a tint darker to me.
It is. I'm sitting here looking at it, and there's not much difference between them. Looks to me to be about a year.
Yeah, years difference. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So, Jim, what do we got going on right now in the Bourbon Road? We just did something big for us, right? We took a major leap for me and you. What was that?
You mean we put our products on the website?
We did. So we got a new sponsor. Kind of two sponsors in one, really. They're Distillery products and Premium Bar products. Distillery products produces and provides glasses and barware for distilleries, bourbon groups, restaurants, bars, whoever out there in the industry needs large orders. You could go to Distillery products. And
they're the wholesaler.
They're the wholesaler.
So if you need a case of Glencairns with your logo on it, they're the guys to go to.
They are, and they do great work, and they're beating people out by almost half. I don't know. I'm not going to quote that exactly, but they're getting a good product out there for a great price. So if you're looking for a glass provider. For your bar, for your group, for your club, your society, whatever you want to call it, give them a call there. Say, hey, the Bourbon Road, we heard about you on the Bourbon Road, and they'll hook you up. Now, if you're just a listener, and you don't have a group, or you want something for your bar, then you can go to Premium Bar Products, and you can order just for yourself a glass or two. You could put, hey, Bob's Basement Bar on there, and they'll laser engrave it and ship it out to you like the next day. They're pretty quick with their products.
Or Happy Birthday, Dad, or whatever the heck you want to put on it, right?
Yeah, Father's Day's coming up, so it's a perfect time to order from them too.
Right.
So the only place you can get the Bourbon Road glass is on the Bourbon Road website. It'll get shipped out. I think that's the next day. That's the only place in the world you're going to be able to find that glass, right? Unless
or to give away, right?
Or to give away. If you see us out and about and we have some on us, and you're one of our listeners, you might walk up to us. We might have some in the car or truck with us. So,
yeah. And if you're a member of the Roadies, we give away some glasses in there every now and then and ship them out to people. So.
Yeah, just ship two out today to two guys that I ask a question and said the first person that can answer this, I'll ship you a glass. And one guy came in there and he answered it partial. So I was like, I'll ship you a glass anyways. Then the second guy answered it correctly and I shipped him a glass. So we're very generous with what we're doing with our glasses. I think we got a great price on there. Go and check it out.
Yeah, so good quality stuff. We've got Glencairns up now. I don't want to spend too much time on this, Mike, but we got some Glencairns up there now. But we're going to have some flasks and some Tua glasses. We'll have some rocks glasses and some other things. So it'll be a lot more stuff on there as we add things, as we add more and more. But thanks to Janie and the crew at Premium Bar Products and Distillery Products. Carson did a great job helping us out. We really look forward to our future working with these guys, and we hope that our listeners will check them out.
Yeah. So, we were talking about being out in public and people seeing you and stuff. And me and you went to the Village Anchor in Louisville and had dinner the other night with Vivian and Mel. And who you think sitting next to us, right in the table next to us, is Peggy Noe Stevens.
Yeah.
And we kind of noticed each other, and she came over and we started chatting a little bit, and she introduced us to her husband, and she was like, "Hey, these two guys are famous." And I was blown away. I was like, yeah, we're not famous at all. She's definitely the famous one. And she surprised Mel and Viv with, she went out to her car and came back and surprised them two with a signed copy of her new book that you can find on Amazon. It's what's the title, Jim?
Which fork do I use with my bourbon?
I think that's it.
I hope that's it. Peggy, sorry if we got it wrong.
So you can find her book on Amazon. She signed in there a Queen of Bourbon. That's what I always call her. You will not meet a more classy lady, and to me, she's the epitome of Southern charm. So check out her website, check out her new book and stuff. It's not just about what you can eat with bourbon; it's how to entertain with bourbon. And she wrote that with Susan Regler.
Yeah, and talk about a classy lady. We were sitting there and drink showed up at her table, and she wasn't wearing a hat, but she kind of tipped her hat. Said,
"Oh yeah,
enjoy, guys."
Of course, those drinks are bourbon. I didn't have a bourbon the other night there. I did have a bourbon, but I drank a Kentucky Mule. I'd been mowing grass all day, and it's hot here in Kentucky that day. And then, I just said, I'm going to have a Kentucky Mule. It's nice and cold and kind of cooled me down. I was wearing a pair of shorts, and it ended up being a pretty dang good night for us, didn't it?
Well, I think it's the first night where I've actually felt human since this whole COVID-19 thing started. There was an opportunity for us to actually sit down at a restaurant at a table, be waited on. Still you've got your space between everybody and the waiters wearing, mask, but it was almost normal. I almost felt normal for an hour or two while we sat there. And man, I miss that. I really miss that.
Yeah, the nice thing about that place is they don't make you wear a mask there. And we were sitting outdoors anyways, kind of an outdoor seating area they have there. And if you're in Louisville area and me and Jim both had the same dish. We both had their fried chicken, and it is delicious over mashed potatoes. And I think it came with some asparagus. It is delicious. And then the drinks, Jim, you're drinking old fashioned, right?
I was drinking it was a Old Forester brown sugar old fashioned. It's good.
Yeah, and that's what we had in our Kentucky Mules. Vivian was drinking Kentucky Mules with me. I've got her on that bourbon roll now, so she's drinking those. And what a great night! And it was a surprise to see Peggy out, and then that she recognized us and came over and talked to us about some future stuff. And man, that just made my night right there. I was having dinner with great friends, and we were already having a good night, but that's kind of like the cherry on top of the cake right there. When you get to see her.
Yeah, that was really special, Mike. So let's talk about a couple of last notes on this 6th year before we move on.
I think I dropped a tear in my glass because I'm going to miss this when it's all gone. I really am. It is, to me, it's a great bourbon. It's now I'm starting to pick up that oak a little bit. A little bit of not maybe new leather, when you first get that baseball glove before you start working it.
Yeah, I mean, I still even now, after I've been sipping on it a while, I really get that roasted corn. I get that roasted corn. It's a little dry. There's not a lot of residual sweetness in it, but I do get like a little bit of little fruit. But for me, mostly like that peanut shell and caramel. Just it's a great bourbon. I really enjoy it. Not a lot of baking spice in this one for me.
Well, I'm going to make all of our listeners happy out there. I'm getting a little Cracker Jack in this.
Are you?
Now, for our listeners out there, I I hate popcorn. I hate's a strong word, and I hate popcorn. Just buttered popcorn. I can't eat it at all. It comes back to a childhood memory to where my mother would make me eat popcorn with powdered milk, and we were super poor at the time, and she was doing her best, but now I can't eat popcorn. I just don't do it. But you give me some Cracker Jacks with some peanuts in there, man, I will tear that up.
There you go.
So,
well, that's a good one. Yep. So you've related it to a childhood memory and a flavor from your bank of food memories. That's awesome. That's what it's all about, right, Mike?
To me, it is. It's not that flavor wheel, and me and you don't really do that at all. We go off our childhood memories or a memory you had as a young adult, and that's just us, man. What do we say? We're not bourbon experts, but we're
bourbon bullshitters. That's right.
That's right.
So for you, a little bit of Cracker Jacks. For me, a little bit of ballpark peanut drizzled in caramel and some black pepper on the back end.
So spicy Cracker Jacks.
Spicy Cracker Jacks.
All right. So we'll see. We're going to come back in the second half, and we'll go ahead and try this 7-year out.
All right. Sounds good, Mike. We would like to thank Tommy and Gwen Mitchell from Logheads Home Center for supporting this episode of The Bourbon Road. Logheads Home Center, nestled in the hills of Kentucky, is an industry leader in building handcrafted rustic furniture. Family owned and operated, they take pride in offering only the very best for their customers. The Logheads, and that's what they like to call themselves, are skilled woodcrafters who are passionate about creating rustic furniture for people who appreciate the beauty of natural wood. Owners Tommy and Gwen don't just sell the rustic lifestyle, they live it. And you can be sure that Logheads furniture will always be handcrafted in Kentucky by artisans who embrace the simple way of life. Logheads rustic furniture is made from northern white cedar, a sustainable wood that's naturally rot and termite resistant. Its beauty and quality will add warmth to your earthy lifestyle for generations to come. Be sure to check out everything they have to offer at logheadshomecenter.com. And while you're at it, give Tommy and Gwen a shout on Facebook or Instagram at Logheads Home Center. All right, we are back, Mike, and I really enjoyed that Heaven Hill 6-year bottle and bond.
Yeah, I might just go ahead and cry in that bottle when it's empty and fill it back up.
Don't cry. Just call me up. I'll bring you a bottle. But now the second half is here, and we get to try something else. And thanks to Adam Boothby, we both have a bottle of Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond 7-year.
Yeah, he muled us some bourbon up here. Kind of our whiskey runner from Chattanooga, Tennessee. How does he get it down in Chattanooga? Or I think he went over to Georgia and got it for us. But he muled it up here. And so if you're one of our listeners and you wonder why we give Adam a little bit more love than everybody else, because Adam's our boy, he hooked us up. You want to send us some samples and do a blind challenge with me and Jim, we're up for it.
So we're going to record a blind. We're going to do a blind episode in July. And we're going to taste some samples from listeners, and then we're going to we need 2 samples though, right? We need 2 things that we can taste side by side and sort of rank one better than the other, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Kind of like I did in a couple episodes ago, where I tried to get 2 that the color almost matched perfect. Or
you tried to trick me up. Yeah, I remember that.
I did. Hey, but I will tell you, I'm going to tell this story to everybody, Jim, because it's funny, right? And then we'll get to our bourbon. But so I go over to Jim's house the other night, and we did an episode. And whenever we get a bottle from somebody, one of us will pour a sample for the other one if we only get 1 bottle. And I had went over to Jim's house and brought 2 bottles, and I poured the bottles, and I poured one into like a little plastic bottle for you, and another one you had an old decanter. And I said, let's Filled that sucker about halfway up, and so I poured about half that bottle in there.
But you couldn't write. But you couldn't write on the decanter because it has like a textured surface on it.
So I walk in the house, and everybody, all the guys, and they're like, "Man, Mike, this bourbon tastes weird. This is not good bourbon. What is this?" And we're sitting there trying to figure out what we poured in because it had been a while. And I said, I started looking through my phone and post, and I was like, man. And somebody had said what I'd brought over there. And I think Mel did. So she's like, "Oh, you brought that over here." And I was like, "Oh, that's brandy."
We won't say whose it was. But anyway, it turned out to be apple brandy, right?
Yeah.
But it was finished in bourbon barrels, so it had a real bourbon profile to it, but it tasted a little weird for a bourbon.
It definitely made my night. I tell you what, I laughed about that all night. So yeah, send us if you want to send us something. You want to play along with us. We'll do that in July. Send us a couple samples, and then in a sealed envelope, put what they are, a 1 and a 2, or something like that, or a 1 through 4, whatever you're going to send us in a sealed envelope, and then we'll open it up after we taste it, and we'll see how close we are.
Yeah, and here's kind of an example. So you would send us, for example, Buffalo Trace and Benchmark. That would be like an example. Send us a Buffalo Trace and a Benchmark, and you would say, "Taste these guys. Tell us what you think." Or you would send somebody, or you'd send us a finished bourbon and maybe one that's not finished, and have us try them and see what we like better. Anyway, sealed paper with it that we open up after the tasting, and it tells us what they are. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun for our listeners, and you'll see that we're truly just bourbon bullshitters.
Yeah,
at least I am.
I plan on being totally embarrassed by whatever's sent in, so it'll be fun. We'll have a good time, but yeah, it levels the playing field with our listeners, right? They get to know that we're not anything special here.
Yeah, because we're just two dudes drinking bourbon, two old dudes drinking bourbon. Right. Broke down. So let's taste this sucker. So this was released last year, right? And it wasn't released in Kentucky. It's got an added year to it. They changed the label on it. They changed the bottle. They changed everything. It's actually got a cork top in it. It's just totally different. Still 100 proof though. Still bottled and bond.
3 times the price.
3 times the price. Yeah, a lot of people have said that they do not like that, and maybe it was just time to do that.
Okay, so on the nose, it's getting me with a little more ethanol. I know it's still 100 proof, but I'm getting a little more ethanol in the nose, kind of a drying.
Well, I already nosed it. I kind of got that, but you know me, Jim. Everybody knows that old Big Chief likes to already start sucking on his glass like a big old baby.
You know, I still get the peanut shell, but it's more like a little more dusty, kind of drier, dustier. I haven't tasted it yet, Mike. I'm still talking about the nose here, but you could tell it's the same bourbon, but it's a little drier, a little more dusty.
Man, you know what I get out of this? I was talking about Cracker Jacks, and Cracker Jacks, depending on how you get them off the shelf or what, I wouldn't say it's stale, but it's been there a while. It's been in that package a while. But this is like going straight up to the like Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop or one of those places or a fair, and they got that caramel or kettle corn out there cooking.
Yeah.
Putting peanuts in it. It's fresh.
Okay, so this one's a little more savory. It's got a little bit more like a little more tobacco to it, I think. A little more. It's got a little more. You could definitely tell more age, I would say. Not a lot, but a little more.
I get some dark fruit in this too. And some bitter chocolate. Like your mom ever cooked with chocolate before? Baking chocolate?
Oh yeah.
And then you ever sneak in there and take a bite of it?
Yeah.
Well, I was that kind of kid, I just take a big old bite off it and just leave my teeth marks and everything in there. I wouldn't crack it off. I just bite it and stick it back in there.
I still get the black pepper in this one, but I'm getting a little bit of toffee too. Maybe that toffee is that chocolate. Well, toffee is not really chocolate. I like English toffees. They're one of my favorite candies. So my brain kind of puts the two together, chocolate and toffee.
Like that Werther original,
That's a little more caramel.
Well, they got a toffee. They got a toffee. What I'm trying to think what that thing is called. It's not Worthing original. It's some kind of toffee candy.
But I'm getting a little more vanilla in this one than I did in the last one. That's surprising because
Heath Bar.
Yeah, Heath Bar. Definitely Heath Bar. I remember I said the bottle. I remember I said the 6-year was a little dry. This one's definitely a little bit drier. So the more time this spins in the barrel, the drier it gets. It's still got a little bit of that fruit to it that you mentioned. You said a dark fruit. For me, it's a little more red fruit, but I think I prefer this one a little bit over the other one.
Yeah, I think it's a great bourbon still. I don't know about the $45 price range. I think they maybe shot for the stars on that one, or how do they figure that out? I don't know. But people were buying it. I don't think it stays on the shelf too long now.
Well, I'll tell you this. So here's real world for me. If somebody said, "Hey, I've got a bottle of 7-year bottle and bond, would you trade me a bottle of 6-year for it?" I would say yes.
You would
in a minute, yeah.
In a minute,
not well, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've got a few bottles of the 6-year.
Sure,
but I think it's I think it brings something different to the table. I think it's the 6-year is solid, and it stands on its own as an icon in whiskey. I think the 7 years good. I think that extra year did it justice, and I would trade a bottle.
Well, you know who else is coming out with a 6-year?
Yeah, tell me about it.
So Wilderness Trail on June 8th, they're opening back up their gift shop and stuff. And they did 100 bottles, and Pat Heiss has said they're going to do more than that, but they went through 100 bottles already. Everybody, they're gone. You had to sign up on their website that day. And I think the Bourbon Roadies got their fair share of bottles. I at least know of 3 bottles. I got a bottle, Adam got a bottle, and he got an extra bottle, thinking that I wouldn't be able to get over there and get a bottle, or I wouldn't get online fast enough. And I think a couple other roadies got bottles too. So the Bourbon Road did pretty good there with the Wilderness Trail.
Well, it seems like in the roadies group, it seems like Wilderness Trail is the topic of conversation on a regular basis.
I think maybe that is because I wouldn't say we've pushed them, but it was just the way when we went out there and they treated us, I think. And, when you're treated that nicely by somebody, you want to show them love, and their bourbon's good. Now, I've had people say their bourbon's not good, and hey, I'll sit there and argue with them all day, but hey, your bourbon your way. I had said this about them. Somebody said they were too young. And I said, well, at one point, Jim Beam was young. One point, Heaven Hill was young. One point, Wild Turkey was young. Was their bourbon good at that time? Probably was. And I think don't sell somebody out just because they're young. They're making good bourbon out there, and it's aged. I mean, they're releasing a 6-year, right?
Yeah, 6-year. Good stuff, right?
We're drinking.
I'm looking forward to it.
This 6 years right here is an icon in bourbon, and people miss it. So I think Wilderness Trail is doing good things, and people are showing love, and they're picking up traction.
Yeah.
They're like a freight train.
Well, you drink what you like, and you know what? Everybody out there, whether you have a sophisticated palate and a large library of sensory memories that you can call out notes on a bourbon or not, the bottom line is, regardless of all of that, you know what you like. You know if you like something when you taste it, right? And some people like something and other people don't. And it surprises me sometimes. There was a bourbon we were talking about the other day, and I won't mention what it was, but I drank it and I was like, you know what? That's not for me. And then somebody else said, wow, that's delicious. And that's just the way it works, right?
I think that all the time. Everybody has their different taste. Me and you definitely have different tastes when it comes to bourbon, and that's what makes us good as a team. You're a rye guy, I'm a weeded guy, and I'm never going to try to pull you over to the weeded side. Wheats to me or that's just what I like. I got that sweet tooth, as we've said before, and you like that spice, and there's nothing wrong with that. People are going to drink what they're going to drink, and you shouldn't bash them for what they're going to drink. And we're all going to have, how many people are on Earth? Like 7 billion? I don't know.
On the Earth?
Yeah. Yeah, on Earth. That's, if there's 7 billion, there's 7 different billion tastes there. Palates. So people are going to drink what they're going to drink, and hey,
and I keep feeding you rye though.
Now here's the thing: is if I drink a rye whiskey, is different than a Kentucky bourbon rye, or it's totally different. They're sweeter. You get that 95% mash bill. Now, I guess that low, what do they call it? A Kentucky rye is only 51 or 60, up to 60% rye bourbon, or rye whiskey. But I find some of those very pleasing. They taste very good. There's nothing wrong with that. And, I try, because we are on a podcast, I'm trying to open my eyes to different whiskeys, different expressions, Scotch, Irish whiskey,
American whiskey.
We're fixing to
single malts.
Yeah. So the other thing we're going to be doing, and it'll already be out by then, Jim, we talked about how do we engage our listeners more? How do we get ourselves out there more? How do we grow our podcast? And the thing me and Jim came up with was we're going to start doing, which we'll already have an episode by now, is a craft distillery Monday for us. And me and Jim will either drink a craft distillery product and talk about it, just like we're doing right now with these two, or we'll bring them on for about 15 or 20 minutes and let them push their product, and we'll taste it.
And we're not going to hold any punches, right? I mean, we're going to talk about what we like and what we don't like. And, here's the thing. Somebody needs to make mixing whiskeys. That's a fact, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And we're going to have some of those. And somebody has made a mixing whiskey and they've sent it to us, and they're very proud that it's a mixing whiskey. So much so that they sent us a recipe cards for cocktails. And we'll probably try to make 1 or 2 of those cocktails on that show with them and drink that. And I'm excited about that episode. And you tasted that whiskey the other night. Did you think, hey, it's a mixing whiskey, or is it just a?
I mean, I didn't mind sipping on it. I thought it was actually a decent sipper. It wouldn't be something I would reach for every day, but I wasn't taken back by it. And so, no, I mean, I would prefer to see it in a highball or in a mule or an old fashioned. But it was good. It was really good. But the volume out there, the business that's out there for somebody who makes a good bar product, right? Something that gets put into, highballs and mixed drinks. That's a big market. And the sippers out there, you and I, Mike, we're sippers. We like to sip on our whiskey, but we're in the minority, I think.
You think we are?
I mean, as far as the 7 billion people on the planet?
Oh, yeah. I think we are a minority, because here's the deal is when somebody goes to a bar, most people don't pull up to the bar and like, can I get a pour of bourbon? Unless you're going to a bourbon bar. But if you're going to a nightclub or something, you're not going to say, hey, let me give me a pour of bourbon out of that plastic cup.
Somebody's saying whiskey sour. Somebody's saying, give me a bourbon,
bourbon
whatever,
and
mule, bourbon and Coke.
There's definitely nothing wrong with that. Now, so I went to take some photos the other day for our Instagram post or our Facebook post, and I met a new neighbor, and he actually is a submariner, and he's a chief also.
Is it submariner or submariner?
He said he's a bubblehead.
Yeah, bubblehead. Yeah, absolutely.
But I took him a deal, and he made a really good post and tagged us in it and stuff. And used a couple big words in there that I still can't pronounce them right. I had to get Vivian to look it up. And he's like, pretty much said I was a pharmacist dropping his medicine off. Well, I'll tell you, Jim, the other day, I saw everybody a little backstory about me and Jim. Is Jim said, hey, Mike, I need a rototiller because Mel wants me to put these.
You're not going to tell this story.
Yeah, let's tell everybody. So Jim says, hey, man, I need a rototiller to put these flower beds in. So she wants to plant sunflowers. And I was like, all right, well, tell me how much of space you need. And I have a small rototiller, but my neighbor has this, probably the largest rototiller that you could walk behind without riding on it. And so I loaded it up and I brought it over to Jim, and Jim's like, "Hey, can I do it?" And I was like, "Hey, have at it, man."
It's like it's got like a 300 horse Cummins diesel engine on it. You know?
So Jim proceeds to push the throttle completely down and pulls the lever, and away he goes or across the yard. It almost drug you across the yard. It was a great sight for me. I had a good laugh.
I still don't understand what that forward gear is for, because you even tried it, right, Mike? You tried to till in the forward gear, and you can't do it. You can't do it.
Well, I knew better. You can till. What you're supposed to do is till in reverse, get your soil tilled up, and not the soil that you have at your house, because you have straight up clay, and it's wet clay right now because it's been raining in Kentucky for like 30 days. I'm over here building the ark right now. So, yeah, it drug you across the yard, and I tried it. I couldn't do it myself. So we put it in reverse and got your stuff tilled up, and I guarantee you were sore that night. You're like, honey, I need a little bit of whiskey.
My arms were about 3 inches longer. And I'm so glad you didn't have your video rolling on your phone there. That would have been so good. And I've had a really good this past week's been really good for me and stuff. People that really, really know me know that I love wildlife, and we live out here on a farm and stuff. And I was driving home the other day. I think that was that same day. And I saw a baby deer laying in the road, and I honked my horn thinking it would get up and run. And that little sucker, he couldn't even get up, Jim. He was born right there in the road. I saw his mom ran off. And so I got out there being Big Chief and picked that little sucker up and walked him over and put him in the woods. And I walked back and got in my truck, and I waited there for a little bit. And here comes Mom. She laid down beside him, started looking at him. So you saved him. Saved
a deer. Now in 4 years from now, that deer's going to be up on my wall.
You're not going to save him. He gets no reprieve.
I'm going to save him from other hunters. What I'm going to do.
All right. So let's get back to this one, Mike. Final thoughts. What do you think?
Well, my final thoughts is it's so good. I poured a second glass of it. It's good. And now that popcorn, that caramel corn, that kettle corn, it's coming out a little bit more. I can get a little bit more of that, maybe dried cherries, you think?
Yeah.
That dried dark fruit, or, red fruit or something.
Yeah, I think cherries are red fruit, right?
Yeah. So if I see this on the shelf, I'm going to buy another bottle of it.
I think what I like about the 7-year is it's got a little more tobacco kind of earthiness to it, a little more savory. It's a little more savory. It's got that dry oak. It's a little bit drier. It shows its age a little bit more than the 6-year. And, I said earlier about the color being about a year different, but I think the taste probably seems a little bit more than a year different.
Yeah, maybe it was a hot summer, that here in Kentucky for that year. Who knows? That dry summer, we did. I think actually this, if I'm thinking right, if it was poured this past summer or past fall and then bottled, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Last year here was a drought. We have a pond here, and that thing it dried up so much that I could take my tractor down inside the pond and start digging it out. That's dry. So maybe that led to that, that dry, hot summer, pulling some of that oak out of the barrel. And it's got a little bit more spice to it too.
It does. There's definitely for me, a little less sweetness in the 7-year than in the 6-year. A little drier, little more leather and oak, but that's the kind of stuff I like. So for me, that's singing my song. And so Heaven Hill, it's time to bring this back to Kentucky. In the meantime, Adam, you can keep sending us bottles. I'm joking. You don't need to send us anymore, but
he would.
He would.
Let's talk about Adam and Jason, our two moderators, and I just want to put a big shout out to the two guys. They're doing great things, and they're actually doing a giveaway of their own on Bourbon Roadies. That is the only place you're going to see it, is to join our private Facebook group. Go in there, sign up. You got to listen to some episodes. If you're already listening and you're not on Facebook, that just join Facebook to join the Roadies, and that's it. And right, we're good with that. Get in Roadies. Look at their giveaway. They're giving away a bottle of E.H. Taylor small batch and actually a bottle of this Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond 7-year. Play along with them. That's two good guys right there.
Two good guys. And definitely team players and definitely part of the Bourbon Road family. So, Mike, I've really enjoyed tonight.
Yeah, I think, man, we'll have to do this again, right?
Yeah.
Once again next week.
I think we'll do this every week. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down for that. Anytime I can sit around and just bullshit about bourbon and, just talk and have a good time and talk about our week and give some people's laugh. I would like to mention, I don't want you to cut this out now, Jim. Everybody, I have given Jim a new nickname. And
you better be careful here.
So Jim's new nickname, because a billy goat will eat anything and drink anything. And Jim, I'm going to tell you, man, I've seen Jim drink some whiskey that I can barely touch and not make a bad eye. And he's like, this is good. This is good juice. And then I've seen him eat some spicy food and I will have heartburn. I'll be dying the next day. And Jim's like, I'm fine. So the only animal on earth I know that can do that's a billy goat. And Jim, you fit that. You got your old goatee going there and stuff. And you're like the master of that yard. You better stay out of Jim's yard. He's that billy goat. Now he wanted me to call him the goat.
I think that's it. It's going to be the goat.
We can't do that. Everybody, Jim's the billy goat from now on. So it's Big Chief or the billy goat and Big Chief running down the Bourbon Road. If you're a cartoonist and you can draw that, send that to us. We'd love it.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you so much.
Just as long as it's not a Big Chief riding a billy goat, we'll be we'll be fine.
I know a few artists. You're in trouble. All right. So, Mike, why don't you take us out, buddy?
So you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook at the Bourbon Road. You can find me at One Big Chief on Instagram.
I'm Jay Shannon 63.
Hey, and we appreciate. We'll see you on down the Bourbon Road.
All right. Cheers, y'all. We do appreciate all of our listeners, and we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with us here on the Bourbon Road. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if so, we would appreciate if you'd subscribe and rate us a 5-star with a review on iTunes. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Bourbon Road. That way you'll be kept in the loop on all the Bourbon Road happenings. You can also visit our website at thebourbonroad.com to read our blog, listen to the show, or reach out to us directly. We always welcome comments or suggestions, and if you have an idea for a particular guest or topic, be sure to let us know. And again, thanks for hanging out with us.